You know that really visceral feeling you get when you step outside on a truly dark, clear night? Like you're far away from city lights and you look up.
Oh, yeah, where the sky is just completely saturated with stars.
Exactly. Intuitively, it just feels like you're looking at this sprawling, I don't know, a crowded metropolis, a cosmic Manhattan, right?
It really does. I mean, given the sheer scale of it.
Right. Hundreds of billions of galaxies.
Yeah.
The math alone makes you assume there just has to be this booming population out there.
Well, it's a completely natural intuition, you know. When you look at the raw cosmological data, I mean, the staggering number of exoplanets we are discovering every single day.
Pick a new one every week.
Exactly. It feels like an absolute statistical certainty that we cannot be alone. The real estate is just, well, it's too vast.
But then you actually confront the reality of our observations.
Yeah.
Because that crowded city we imagine, when we actually listen, when we scan those frequencies, it behaves a lot more like a ghost town.
A very quiet ghost town.
Yeah, the lights are blazing, the infrastructure is there, but nobody is answering the door. And that profound silence, I mean, the sheer weight of that cosmic isolation is exactly what we are exploring today. So, welcome to our deep dive. We are taking you on a journey to unpack a seriously mind-bending intersection of astrophysics, evolutionary biology, and, well, the philosophy of mind.
It's an incredibly rich space to explore, really, because the material we're looking at today, it doesn't just ask where everyone else is, it forces us to reconsider the fundamental mechanics of reality itself.
In our specific role within it, which is the wild part, we've got two fascinating pieces of text on the table today for you. The first is surprisingly brief. It's just a single provocative sentence that makes a massive, definitive claim about the universe.
Right.
And the second is this much denser synthesis. It explains the well-known rare earth hypothesis, but it filters it through a highly unconventional framework known as the Way of POE.
And I should warn you, this Way of POE framework, it is going to aggressively challenge some of the most deeply entrenched assumptions we hold about cosmology.
Oh, for sure.
And, our place in the cosmic hierarchy.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to take these sprawling, sometimes dense theories and synthesize them into something you can actually use. By the time we wrap up, the goal is for you to walk away with a completely shifted perspective on your own existence.
Without getting lost in impenetrable academic jargon, hopefully.
Exactly. No textbooks here. We are going to look at the how and the why, not just the what.
Well, let's start with the baseline concept established in our first source. It makes a really stark division. It claims that while basic foundational life might actually be ubiquitous across the universe,
Like bacteria and stuff.
right, simple cells, but something it calls symbolic consciousness is entirely unique to us.
Right. And to understand why the sources make that huge jump, we have to look at their breakdown of the rare earth hypothesis. Now, anyone who follows space science is familiar with the Goldilocks zone.
The idea that a planet needs to be just the right distance from its star for liquid water to exist.
Yeah, not too hot, not too cold. But our sources argue that astrobiology has been, well, entirely too optimistic. They argue that water and warmth are just the entry fee. The checklist required for complex multicellular life is terrifyingly long.
It really is. The source material lays out this highly specific physical gauntlet. First, you need a stable star. And we aren't just talking about a star that shines.
Or it's more complicated than that.
We are talking about strict constraints on the star's life cycle and its behavior. Because if your star is prone to violent, localized solar flares,
Well, a lot of are, right?
oh, many are, and if they routinely wash the inner solar system in sterilizing radiation, it doesn't matter if you have oceans of liquid water.
Because everything gets fried.
Exactly.
Ugh.
Complex life will get wiped out before it can even figure out how to photosynthesize.
So it's like baking a cake where not only do you need the exact ingredients and exact measurements, but the oven has to be perfectly calibrated, the kitchen can't be too hot, and a rogue meteor can't hit your house while the cake is rising.
That is a perfect way to put it. You need a reliable, quiet furnace, not an erratic one.
But even if you have the perfect star, the text immediately pivots to the planetary composition itself. You can't just have a rock. It has to be a rock with a very specific internal engine.
Precisely. The text emphasizes the absolute necessity of a robust, active magnetic field.
The geodynamo.
Right, without a geodynamo spinning in the planet's core generating that magnetic shield, the solar winds from your perfect star will just relentlessly bombard the planet. Over a few 100 million years, those solar winds will literally strip away the atmosphere molecule by molecule.
Which is wild. And we've seen the aftermath of this in our own solar system.
We have.
I mean, you're talking about Mars.
Yeah.
Mars lost its internal heat, lost its magnetic field, and the sun just blew its atmosphere into deep space.
Leaving it completely barren.
Yeah. So the recipe so far: quiet star, liquid core generating a magnetic force field, perfect distance. But the source throws in another requirement that always catches people off guard. Yes, the necessity of a massive moon. I want to linger on this because why would a dead rock orbiting our planet dictate the emergence of complex biology? It seems unrelated.
It does seem disconnected, but it comes down to angular momentum and axial stability. Think about a spinning top.
Okay.
If you just spin a top on a table, as it loses energy, it begins to wobble chaotically.
It starts tipping over.
Right. Earth, without our moon, would do the exact same thing. Its axis of rotation would tilt wildly over millions of years.
And if the planet is wobbling chaotically, your climate is thrown into absolute chaos.
Exactly. You wouldn't have the stable, predictable seasons that allow ecosystems to establish themselves. You could have the equator suddenly plunged into an ice age.
Wow.
Or the poles literally boiling. And this would be happening far too rapidly for evolutionary adaptation to keep up. The moon acts like the long balancing pole used by a tightrope walker.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
They're massive. It's swinging around us. It locks our axial tilt into place. It prevents the catastrophic wobbling.
That tightrope walker visual makes perfect sense because it's not just about having the right ingredients. It's about the mechanical stability of the system over deep time. You need billions of years of uninterrupted, catastrophic free stability to go from a single-celled organism to something that can, I don't know, build a radio.
And when you compound all those probabilities, the right star, the right core, the right orbital mechanics, the lack of devastating asteroid impacts the physical requirements alone make Earth an extreme anomaly.
Yeah, it's just astronomically rare.
But here is the critical pivot in the source material.
Right, because getting this perfectly balanced, magnetically shielded rock with complex life on it, the text argues that is actually the easy part of the equation.
According to the Way of POE framework, yes. The absolute rarest phenomenon in the universe isn't a habitable planet.
Which is saying something.
It is. The true bottleneck is the leap from a highly evolved biological organism to a symbolically conscious mind.
Let's define what the text means by symbolic consciousness. Because we are just talking about, like, a squirrel remembering where it buried a nut.
Right.
Or a dolphin communicating with its pod. Those are high levels of awareness, but they aren't what the source is pointing to.
No, symbolic consciousness is a distinct cognitive threshold. It is the ability to use abstract symbols, mathematics, complex language, art.
Stuff that goes beyond basic survival.
Exactly. To not just interact with the immediate physical environment, but to model reality. It's the capacity to contemplate your own mortality, to conceptualize the future, and to wonder about the mechanics of the stars above you.
And this brings us back to that very first source, that one-sentence claim. Life is ubiquitous, but symbolic consciousness is unique. Meaning, we might eventually find oceans full of alien algae or deep space tube worms.
Very likely, yes.
But a mind that can comprehend a calculus equation that might strictly exist here. And to explain why, the Way of POE introduces a concept that I really want to push you on, because it sounds, honestly, almost like science fiction.
It's a quantum minefield.
Yes. It introduces the idea of a quantum minefield.
Well, the source refers to this quantum minefield as the primordial architecture of consciousness itself.
Okay, wait, let me stop you there.
Yeah.
Because biology is essentially just incredibly complex chemistry, right?
Yep.
And chemistry is just applied physics.
Sure.
So why is this framework arguing that standard Darwinian evolution, survival of the fittest, random genetic mutation over deep time, why isn't that enough to explain human intelligence?
Yeah.
Why inject quantum physics into brain development?
What's fascinating here is how the text deconstructs the evolutionary necessity of our brains. Standard Darwinian evolution is fiercely pragmatic.
It just wants you to survive long enough to reproduce.
Exactly. It selects for traits that solve immediate survival problems. Better teeth for hunting, thicker fur for the cold, faster reflexes to avoid predators.
Right. Evolution doesn't plan ahead. It just rewards whatever keeps you alive today.
But the sheer caloric cost and the complexity of the human brain, specifically the parts that allow for abstract reasoning and symbolic thought, they are wildly disproportionate to basic survival needs.
That's a good point.
You don't need to be able to write a symphony to outrun a saber-toothed tiger.
No, you definitely don't.
So the framework argues that symbolic consciousness isn't just the inevitable endpoint of a biological skill tree. if you hit play on evolution on a billion Earth-like planets, you don't inevitably end up with philosophers.
You just end up with perfectly adapted predators and prey.
Exactly.
So how does the quantum minefield bridge that gap? What is the actual mechanism the text is suggesting here? Are we saying subatomic particles are doing the thinking?
Well, the framework posits that at a certain threshold of neurological complexity, the brain ceases to be just a biological computer processing chemical signals.
Okay.
Instead, it becomes capable of interacting with or perhaps tuning into a fundamental quantum layer of reality. Think of it like a receiver.
Oh, like a radio antenna.
Yes. Biology builds the antenna, but the signal-true self-reflective consciousness is an inherent property of the quantum fabric of the universe.
I see where you're going. So the recipe for a listener tuning into this deep dive right now isn't just a lucky rock with a stable climate. It requires a biological lineage that developed an incredibly specific, hyper-expensive neurological architecture.
Driven by just the right environmental pressures.
Right, which then managed to achieve a state of coherence with this primordial quantum field. So it's this localized biological environmental quantum convergence. That's a lot of hyphens.
It is. And the mathematical improbability of that specific multi-layered convergence is so staggering that it shatters a foundational tenet of modern science. It completely dismantles the idea of Earth's averageness.
And we are talking about the Copernican principle here. For you all listening, you know the history. Nicholas Copernicus proved we aren't the center of the solar system. Yep. And since then, astronomy has basically been a 500-year campaign to demote humanity. We are an average rock around an average star in a boring suburb of an average galaxy. Science has practically demanded that we view ourselves as cosmically insignificant.
It's a principle of extreme humility, really, and it has guided modern cosmology for centuries. But the Way of POE actively rebels against this.
It throws it out the window.
Completely. If the emergence of a symbolically conscious mind requires this nearly impossible multidisciplinary convergence, then we are not average. We are a profound, staggering anomaly.
And the text connects this extreme rarity directly to the Fermi Paradox.
Yeah.
And again, you all know the paradox. The universe is ancient, it's vast. So where are the alien megastructures? Why is the sky so quiet?
Exactly.
Usually we assume the silence means our technology just isn't good enough yet. Or maybe alien civilizations destroy themselves before they can travel the stars.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, this framework offers a much simpler, though perhaps more isolating answer. The silence of the universe isn't a puzzle missing a variable. The silence is the intended baseline state of the cosmos.
That is chilling.
We have spent decades aiming radio telescopes at the galactic center, scanning exoplanet atmospheres for industrial pollutants, and finding nothing, because there's likely nothing of our cognitive equal out there to find.
Under the Way of POE, the Fermi Paradox isn't a paradox at all. Earth is special. The silence is just a reflection of how mathematically brutal it is to forge a conscious mind. We might literally be the only part of the universe that has woken up and realized it is alive.
Which is a beautiful, if heavy, realization.
Extremely heavy.
But the Way of POE does not stop there. If our symbolic consciousness is truly this unique, this deeply entwined with the quantum fabric of reality, the source material suggests it serves a function far greater than just passively observing the stars.
Here's where it gets really interesting, and I'm going to push back hard on this next part, because up until now, we've been talking about extreme probabilities.
Fair enough.
But the source now introduces the interconnectedness of mind and matter, making the claim that consciousness actually plays an active role in shaping the physical universe.
It breaks down the assertion that the universe is not simply a physical stage where biological life accidentally stumbled into the spotlight.
Right.
It gestures toward the idea that the physical development of the cosmos was fundamentally influenced by the consciousness it would eventually give rise to.
Okay, hold on. This breaks the fundamental laws of linear time as we know it. Traditional scientific materialism dictates a very clear arrow of time. The Big Bang happens, matter cools, stars form, planets accrete, biology evolves, and finally a brain looks around and says, I exist.
The standard model, yes.
Matter creates mind. Are the sources seriously claiming that humans thinking today retroactively built the universe 14 billion years ago? Because that sounds like magic, not physics.
It's not magic, but it does dip heavily into the most counterintuitive aspects of quantum mechanics. Specifically, the observer effect scaled up to a macroscopic cosmic level.
Okay, explain that.
Think about the classic quantum physics experiments, where a particle exists in a state of mere probability, a wave of potential, until it is observed or measured.
Right, at which point it collapses into a definite state, like Schrodinger's cat.
Or the double slit experiment, exactly. The act of observation forces reality to make a choice.
Right.
What the framework is pointing toward is a theory of retrocausality, or a participatory universe. The idea is that the early universe existed in a massive superposition of probabilities. It wasn't fully real in the definitive sense until a mechanism arose capable of observing it.
And that mechanism is us.
Yes. Our emergence, the arrival of symbolic consciousness, acted as the ultimate observer, reaching backward through time to collapse the wave function of the early universe into the specific physical reality we see today.
That is absolutely mind-bending. You're saying it's almost like saying the universe isn't just a physical stage where we accidentally evolved to perform a play. The stage itself was built specifically in response to the fact that the play was eventually going to happen. The ending reached back and crystallized the beginning.
It's a self-exciting circuit.
Yeah.
A feedback loop between mind and matter. And the source concludes that this incredible retrocausal loop is the only way to explain one of the most agonizing mysteries in physics.
The fine-tuning problem.
Precisely.
The idea that the physical constants of the universe are suspiciously perfect. Like if you tweak the force of gravity or the mass of a proton by a fraction of a percent, stars don't ignite, carbon never forms, and the universe is just a cold, dead expanse of nothing.
Physicists have debated this for decades. I mean, is it just dumb luck? Is there an infinite multiverse and we just happen to live in the lucky one?
Right, the anthropic principle.
Exactly. But the Way of POE suggests a third option. The universe appears perfectly fine-tuned for life because consciousness and the physical universe are locked in a symbiotic relationship.
So they need each other.
Yes. The universe is fine-tuned because the consciousness it produced required those exact parameters to exist, and that consciousness retroactively collapsed reality into this specific, life-permitting state.
This raises an important question about how we fundamentally categorize reality, because we are so conditioned to treat our inner monologue, our thoughts, as something separate from the physical world.
We really are.
We treat consciousness as a ghost inhabiting a biological machine. But this framework is arguing that your mind, your ability to comprehend this very sentence right now, is as structurally fundamental to the universe as gravity or electromagnetism.
It integrates deep scientific inquiry with profound philosophical contemplation. It implies that matter and mind are two sides of the exact same cosmic coin. You cannot have this specific physical universe without the consciousness required to observe it.
Which fundamentally rewrites our job description as a species. Because if the Copernican principle is right, and we are just an accident on an average rock, then ultimately our survival doesn't really matter to the cosmos.
The universe will keep churning whether we are here or not.
Exactly. But if this framework is accurate, well, if we are the singular point where the cosmos achieves symbolic consciousness, where it managed to build a biological antenna tuned into that quantum minefield, then we aren't just residents of this universe.
Yeah.
We are its self-awareness.
And that carries an almost incomprehensible level of responsibility. The source material challenges us to embrace the weight of this unique position.
There's a lot of pressure.
It is, because if we are a singular occurrence, a cosmic anomaly, then the survival and progression of our species isn't just about preserving human history. It is about preserving the only pocket of self-awareness in an otherwise silent mechanical expanse.
Wow.
If we extinguish ourselves, the universe doesn't just lose a species, it loses its ability to know itself. It goes back to sleep.
That is a staggering amount of weight to put on human shoulders.
Oh.
But honestly, it's exactly why we do these deep dives. To synthesize the incredible journey you and I just went on. We started by looking at the sheer, terrifying physical improbability of our planet through the rare Earth hypothesis.
Right, the physical gauntlet.
Yeah. And then we moved into the biological and quantum anomaly required to spark symbolic consciousness, realizing that smart monkeys don't just inevitably invent algebra.
No, they don't.
And we ended on the outer limits of physics, exploring the radical idea that our minds might literally be intertwined with the fabric of reality, retroactively shaping the cosmos itself.
It is a framework that takes the cold, vast emptiness of space and completely fills it with deep, structural meaning and purpose. It forces you to look at a human being not as an evolutionary accident, but as a cosmic necessity.
It really does. And as we bring this home, we want to leave you the listener, with a new thread to pull on, something to mull over or explore on your own that builds on everything we've just unpacked today.
Well, if the way of POE is correct, and true symbolic consciousness requires a flawless, incredibly rare convergence of organic biology, environmental stress, and that primordial quantum minefield.
Then what does this mean for our current, relentless pursuit of artificial intelligence? Right now, we are pouring billions of dollars into trying to build conscious, reasoning machines out of silicon algorithms and code. But if this framework holds true, can a purely synthetic, non-biological network ever actually tap into that quantum layer of reality?
It's a profound question.
Can a machine ever achieve true symbolic consciousness? Or is humanity's biological quantum convergence a strictly organic privilege? Like, is the spark of true self-awareness something that an AI, no matter how computationally powerful it gets, can simply never replicate because it lacks the biological antenna?
It's a question that moves AI from a purely technological challenge to a deeply philosophical one. It really forces us to define the actual boundaries of the conscious mind.
Exactly. So the next time you step outside on a clear night and look up at that vast expanse of stars and you feel that isolating sense of a cosmic ghost town, remember,
Yeah.
the silence might not be an empty room. You might just be the only one capable of looking back. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening.